Thank you for joining me on today's episode of Entrepreneur Encounters. For those of you who are pet lovers, you're going to love today's interview. I start off by chatting with Angela Trzcinski, owner of PetU, a woman-owned dog school. I started off by asking Angela, why'd she get started in this business? Let's listen to her answer.
The reason for PetU's existence was the need for families putting demands on their dogs that they were not able to communicate with directly. Us as humans have a greater expectation from our animal, but we do not know how to communicate the need and how to get there. So the dog looks to you for guidance. In turn, you're looking to the dog for guidance. And this is a deer in the headlights moment. Okay. So how can we do this better? With the amount of social anxiety, emotional anxiety, fears, stresses in the world, we need a companion. Most people are looking for that support. Some is it physically by their side. Some it's just the emotion of it being there. You know, your dog is in your office, maybe you can come to work. Maybe it's your home office. Maybe it's taking the dog out for a walk at lunchtime or the evening. We do that through training the human and the dog. So that's the connection. That's the reason PetU began.
All right, folks, how many of you out there are dog owners? I see those raised hands. We have 3 dogs in our family, and Angela is 100% correct. It's all about training the human. Start with the dog you have to get the dog you want. It's so funny to say, but it's really not about training the dog at all. I remember when I finally realized that. Frankly, it was about training me. And did you pick up on this? Regular listeners to our show will have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again. Angela started her business because she saw a need. Entrepreneurs are out there solving problems, solving needs that are out there. She saw that pet owners were struggling to communicate their expectations to their dogs. What does this look like? Frustration, sadness, and pain in general. Folks, this is really essential for human and beast. We must understand what problems we're solving for our customers. This is the basis of a solid marketing plan and, frankly, the basis of expanding our business, either by going into new products or enhancing our current product offerings. Once we understand what our customers value about us, we tap into what their problems are and how we solve those problems for them and find other customers who have similar needs. It's a virtuous cycle. I went on to ask Angela about the growth of her business. Let's listen to what she has to say.
So there was an in-home training that would happen in my home, and it was a referral-based exclusively. There was no website. There was no social media content. There was none of that. It was literally a word by mouth, and it grew. And it grew exponentially to the point that there was about 13 dogs in my home, December of 2011. So raising 3 young boys with my own dogs and all of the client dogs, so to speak, there wasn't enough room. It was either cut back or expand to brick and mortar. And that's what happened 6 months later. So the first location was opened June of 2012 in Milwaukee, and that's on South Howell. And that's where it all started. Literally opened the doors day one with 7 clients, current existing working clients that morning, and 3 employees.
Folks, this is a story we hear in various shapes and forms, furry or otherwise, all the time at MKA Business Coach. Many folks started their business in their homes. What I want to point out about what Angela did here is that she realized there was a breaking point and she was going to need to move into another location. Like she said, she simply couldn't have 13 dogs, 3 kids, and a partridge in a pear tree all living under the same roof. This was her pain point, the point at which her business could no longer grow until she made that move. Our clients come to us all the time with these types of questions. At what point should I look to move into a bigger space? Hire that additional employee, add another shift, buy that robot that will do some of the work. We love to work with our clients to understand what their growth pains are and how we can align those with their growth goals for their business and then forecast out the financial and operational implications. We roll up our sleeves and embed alongside our clients to help them understand what, if any, cash flow crunch there might be until the increased sales come through. We connect them with banks if needed. We talk about credit lines, and we help them tour locations and bring brokers in to facilitate purchases or leases of building spaces. It's something we love to do as strategic partners with our clients. If this resonates with you, reach out to us at mkebusinesscoach.com. I went on to ask Angela about how she grew the various service lines of the business. This is really interesting, so let's listen to what she has to say.
So the aspect of the training also is through proper socialization through daycare. So daycare is allowing a dog to be a dog. Our demands that we're putting on them, they also need a release, right? Dogs need to be able to sniff stiff butts, so to speak. Okay. They need that downtime. That's their time to regroup. And what better way to do it than in a controlled environment that is clean, safe, and healthy. Along with that, because dogs can also have anxiety and emotional needs, is the aspect of boarding. I wanted to create a place that had a safe boarding that was stress-free, because boarding can be very stressful for dogs that leaving their home, what they're used to, if the family does have to leave and they cannot take them, where can they go and what can they do? I wanted to be that go-to place. So that's how boarding came to be, along with grooming. Once dogs are playing and they're rolling around and they got dog slobber on them and they're in the pools and they're dirty and whatnot, I wanted to be able to send them home fresh and clean, ready to snuggle again on the couch or, snuggle in bed again if that's what the family allows. So that's where the grooming aspect came in.
Folks, did you hear that? This is something that Angela really leaned into. She understood the psyche of both dogs and the humans. Humans need to know they could drop their dog off and it would be able to be a dog. It could roll around, sniff butts, like she said, get dirty, and just have fun. But she also knew that as humans, we would really like our dogs to be nice and clean when we get them back from daycare. And frankly, we'd also like this for our children too, am I right? So, for her, it felt like a natural addition to add the grooming services. And for her clients and doggy parents, if you will, this was a fantastic idea because it had made her location a one-stop shop. They could drop off the dog could get lots of playtime, and come home fresh and clean. Then came the idea of boarding. What a fantastic idea. And again, Angela really understood the psyche of her clients here. The doggy parents wanted to know that they could trust that their pup was being taken care of while they were gone. As a dog owner myself, I really understand this. Not all boarding facilities are created equal, but taking a dog to the same place that she goes for daycare and the same person who cleans her coat and having her spend the night, that just makes all the sense in the world and is comforting for pet parents and pets alike. Brilliant. Now, some of you are listening to this and you're thinking, that's great, Brent, but I don't own a pet business. This is irrelevant to me. How do I make this work in my business? Well, thanks for asking. Think about the needs of your clients. What problems are you solving for them? And by the way, don't make this a question that you answer for yourself. You actually have to go and ask your clients and customers this question. What problem are you solving for your customer? Try and dig in and understand. What emotions were they feeling before you worked with them? What emotion are they feeling now that you've been working with them or serving them or selling them products? This is not some woo-woo thing that we're asking you to do here. This is gold. Try it and see what you learn. You may, like Angela, come up with additional product lines or services that you can offer your clients. I went on to ask Angela how she's grown the business over time. Let's listen to what she says.
Well, supply and demand is what has really been the driving factor of that. So the second location opened May of 2015, and that is in the Racine community. I took everything that was good and great in Milwaukee and expanded it to be even better. That building is also 3 times the size. So I have more capabilities of handling dogs that may have more special needs, behavioral issues, dogs that can only be in smaller groups, maybe one-on-one groups only, or 1 to 2 at a time. I'm able to meet that need for those families. After that, October of 2016, the third location opened. That location was in Glendale and then has now moved to the Mequon location. There again, I was able to take what was good and great in Milwaukee, expand that to Racine, and now move and do it even better in Mequon. Believe it or not, just because you have 4 paws and fur does not mean all dogs are friends. Okay. So it's going through their assessments and learning the very specific idiosyncrasies of each dog's personality. Time, of course, does that. The more time that we get to spend with each other and the more we get to learn from the family, things that their dog likes or doesn't like, we're able to break those groups down smaller and create each dog's best friend group. So they're able to come in and enjoy their time to their fullest potential.
Angela's story is going to resonate with many of our listeners here. We see this all the time at MKE Business Coach. Once our clients are successful in one geographic area, especially with a business that's very geographically tied like Angela's PetU company, there's going to be an opportunity and a need to expand to other locations in Racine, which is just south of Milwaukee, Mequon, north of Milwaukee. And do you notice that Angela didn't just rinse and repeat? She learned from what worked well at each of her locations and the things that made the most sense, that were the best that she had learned, and that she continued to hone her skill here. Fantastic. I asked Angela about the struggles she's faced in growing the business. Let's listen to what she has to say.
That has probably been one of the biggest struggles that I have faced, is being able to get my story out there, being able to share what PetU really is and what we truly do. We're not a standard doggy daycare. We don't fit that mold. We are standalone. So the services are offered might be similar to a competitive business, but the way we do it is not the same. So it's being able to express that and share that through our content on our social media and our website. That creating that story is very important to find the correct marketing partner. It has been a struggle, and there's been many redos with different organizations to get to that point where I am today. I would say finding the best and most qualified staffing is extremely important to me. Everybody loves dogs. Does everybody love a pack of 30 dogs, right? It's breaking it down to be able to educate my staff on how to work with animals in the best fashion. Okay. So it's weeding through finding the key players, the best key players, employees that are going to really kind of jump into the thick of it and take a hands-on approach, right? They want to be interactive with the animals versus having a hands-off approach, because that just doesn't work. It's dogs. A pack of dogs is similar to a group of toddlers, right? You can't just stand by and watch and see what's going to happen. We need to be attentive at all times. So that is key number one.
Folks, how many of us can identify with Angela here? Really narrowing down what our story is, which, said another way, is the problems that we uniquely solve for our customers. This is hard work. And frankly, it's work that never ends. No matter what our product or service is, we're always honing how we speak about it, because the world does not stand still. Culture evolves, language evolves, the way people hear about us and our products has to evolve too. If you haven't taken a look at your messaging in a while, it's something that's absolutely worthwhile doing. And don't give up on it. Marketing is absolutely essential to the growth of your business, and you ignore it at your own peril. For us at MKE Business Coach, we counsel our clients to incorporate their marketing into the fabric of their strategic plan. It's not a binder that sits over on the shelf somewhere. It's going to be built into the fabric of our strategic plan and is inextricably linked with the overall growth trajectory of the business. And people. I see many of you nodding your heads here. Finding the right people, the ones who really get what we do, can be both difficult but also essential to the success of our business. I really like how Angela approaches this. She's looking for a hands-on approach from all her employees. Angela knows that dogs can be just like a group of little kids, toddlers, if you will. You can't throw all the dogs in a room together and hope that they'll survive. You have to make sure the dogs are getting along with one another. As a dog owner myself, I know it takes a very special person to understand how to deal with dogs when they're having a bad day. I went on to ask Angela how she's dealt with the unforeseen situations that inevitably come up when we're growing our businesses. Let's listen.
Oh, I was one day out of receiving my occupancy permit at the Mequon location. It was 6 days before Christmas. We had a full booking schedule when the inspectors came through and asked where was my fire alarm system that was never discussed. The owner of the building did not have a current operating fire alarm system. And in order for me to open, I needed this. And this is about a 4-month project. And I needed essentially to have that done within 24 hours in order to open or cancel all of the family's boarding because I could not. What were my options? After working with the fire department, the city of Mequon, and quickly getting as many referrals to alarm companies or fire alarm systems as I could and get those bids out ASAP, I was told that I could open and service my families if I had 24-hour care. So that's what I did. I had 24/7 care for 4.5 months before the fire alarm system was fully operational.
Holy cow. Talk about the unexpected. How many of you have been in a situation like this? You're literally at the 11th hour, the ribbon cutting event, the launch of the product, and you find out that something major is wrong. What do you do? And folks, this is one of the things we admire so much about business owners. We figured it out. We do. We put our heads down, we stay up all night long, we call our trusted support, and we figure out how to get through. In this case, Angela came up with a staffing plan that would allow her to fulfill her commitments in this new market for her Mequon location and still meet the requirements of the city. I mean, can I get an applause for Angela here? She really deserves a standing ovation. We love hearing about these stories at MKE Business Coach. They're inspiring and part of the reason why we do this show. None of us are alone. We've all had moments like this, and we hear about how others navigated them and came out on the other side. It's encouraging to keep making the right choices and steps for ourselves. Well done, Angela. I went on to ask Angela how her leadership style has evolved. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Well, what I have learned and as I have grown is that I cannot do this alone. This is beyond just my two hands. And I need to rely and build a solid, trustworthy team that will make the best decisions as if they were my decisions. That completely changed my entire way of being a boss. And it's standing behind my staff, right? So if they make a decision and maybe it is a mistake or an error to some magnitude, still standing behind them and building that trust amongst each other because we are still human. We do our very best, but sometimes things still can go awry or not to the standard or the quality that we had anticipated it to go to.
Wow. Okay. How many of us can identify with what Angela said here? Folks, when our teams make a mistake, we have two choices. We can blow up or we can ask questions. But let me just tell you right now, helping them recover in the moment and then asking questions later is absolutely the better of the two choices here. This is something Angela learned. Support the team, help them navigate through, and figure out how to avoid the repeat in the future. There are very few things that employees can do that require us to blow our tops. So take a deep breath, have your employees back, and figure out what you can learn from the back end. And guess what? Employees will appreciate this. Some will appreciate it more than others. Sometimes it feels like we've just given our employees the most tremendous gift in the world by not firing them. We expect them to jump up and down and praise our names. But sometimes the reality is that they just don't. Do it for yourself then. Don't do it for the praise of your employees. Do it because it's the right thing to do for you and your business. I went on to ask Angela about how she funded her business. Let's listen to what she has to say.
Beginning was self-funded and private investors. So I had a private angel investor that helped to assist in opening the very first location. So when the second came, it was using proceeds. So PetU Milwaukee helped assist in the Racine opening, along with traditional funding for that location. I did purchase that building, so there was a mortgage, and then I did a build-out loan on there. And then obviously I quickly paid that back.
All right. I love this. We love talking with our clients about ways they can fund the business. Angela highlighted a couple of ways here. She started off with an angel investor, and an angel investor is someone who steps in and helps out, usually for a little higher return, and sometimes for an equity position in your business to start with. Typically, business owners who are starting up struggle to find traditional funding sources. By that, we mean brick and mortar banks. Why? Well, banks want to know that you're going to be able to pay them back. Angel investors are called that because they're usually willing to help out really in the early phase when a traditional bank can't or won't. Typically, though, because they're taking on a higher risk since you don't have a proven track record yet for your business, they're going to charge a higher return. Aside from the funding aspect, angel investors can also fill a really important role in making introductions for you as a business owner. Frankly, sometimes this can even be more important to the success of our businesses than the money itself. Then did you notice that for her second location, Angela uses the proceeds from her first location to pay for it? Said another way, she saved up from the profits from her success from the first business at PetU Milwaukee and used those savings to self-fund the second location in Racine. I love this. Self-funding is just about the cheapest kind of funding we can find. And in many cases, it makes a lot of sense for business owners to look at this. We don't have to charge ourselves interest. We understand where the cash flow is coming from. However, the downside of self-funding is that it can slow down our growth. We have a fixed pot of money to go to. We can't get any more than what's coming in. Going to traditional bank, oftentimes once you have an established business, can provide you with a larger loan knowing that you can pay for it over time. Now, sometimes small business owners are going to find traditional banks that will help you purchase the building, but they may not be able to give you all the funding you need to start up the business itself, or to hire the right people, or to build out the space. This is where self-funding can still come in extremely helpful. If you have questions about funding your business, reach out to us. We're here to help. So I went on to ask Angela to tell me more about how she manages the team. There's some real gems in here, so let's listen to what she has to say.
I have learned that a key team is important. I do stop in each store each week, so I'm at a different location every day. There's no set schedule, which keeps everybody alert, right? Because we want a high standard, not just when the boss is there, right? We want that high standard no matter what. I also am instrumental in keeping my staff. We do a staff meeting every 2 weeks. So all of the key players, all management, we meet every 2 weeks. So that's another very key component for us. And we're able to bring the good, the bad, the difficult. How are we going to improve what was great that week? Celebrate the good as well.
One of the keys to keeping our employees may surprise you. It's setting expectations and creating buy-in on those expectations. This starts with the job posting, and it's further communicated when we interview prospective employees. And it doesn't end when we hire them. It's on us to check in like Angela did. It's on us to have regular meetings with our direct reports. I like a weekly structure. Every 2 weeks is fine as well. The regular rhythm of being able to share what's working, what's not working, troubleshoot any obstacles, and keep a real finger on the pulse of how the employees are doing. There should never be any surprises with our employees. They should always know how we feel about their performance and what they need to be working on. And let's not forget, celebrations are essential, but find out what drives your team. Sometimes it's a cash bonus or a gift card. Sometimes it's verbal recognition. Sometimes it's a small memento. Sometimes it's going out and doing a team event together. Everyone is wired differently. You don't want to be the person who constantly celebrates with bagels only to find out a year later that one of your employees is gluten intolerant, right? Find out what your team likes and lean into that when you're celebrating. Don't assume this one. There have been countless gifts given to employees, and I'm not going to give any examples here, but if you think for a moment, you'll come up with some that end up being re-gifted as white elephant gifts later on. Don't let that be you. Figure out what your team likes and give them that as a gift. Well, like you, I cannot do this on my own. There are so many people who contribute to be able to bring this amazing product to you. If you like what you hear, I do want to encourage you, please like, subscribe, share, and comment. I'm Brent Halfwasson, owner of MKE Business Coach, and I want to remind you that being a growth company means upgrading your current business. See you next time.